So here I am back in my studio. The light just came on. It's just like the fridge, you know, the light comes on in the refrigerator. You open it in the middle of the night and you can do like a 10-minute monologue. No, I'm just joking. Choking on the whole idea. I'm going to put my telephone over here. The idea is simply this. I've got two more fine musicians, young musicians, the youngest musicians of the day just showed up, and Daniel Delgado has gone home, and he's going to send me some repertoire for his portion of the concerts that we're going to do up on the Schützenhof Terrasse, this is a whole YouTube days about preparing for that with different constellations of musicians. So right now I've got Mr. Simon. Last name is Eingang. We had a Mr. First today we had Mr. Fondran. What was his first name? Julian Fondran, who played this space this capsule kind of thing, you know, this UFO instrument called a handpan. And Simon von Eingang is playing now. And this is Jean-Loup from guitar. And Jean-Loup is, his last name is Eberhard, pretty close. And we met a couple of weeks ago, not even a couple of weeks ago, maybe 10 days ago. Also on the Main River, they were playing just the duo, and I heard them play, and I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. They're playing really well together. And it looks to me like they've just started here studying at the High School of Music in the jazz subtitle, or the jazz department, which I started back in 1983, by the way. And if you talk to Leszek, remind him that, okay? Not him in 85, but me in 83. And Jean-Loup is studying with Leszek, but he's also studying with Hubert Winter, who also studied here, very fine player. And all of these guys I've worked with too and have done gigs with them, including Leszek and whatever. And what's really interesting is that Jean-Loup is 19 and he comes from Munich. And Simon is 25 and he comes from Salzburg. And the first day they signed up for the courses here, they met each other and they say, well, let's share a room together. So they have an apartment together, right? And it works great. So it's really easy to get in touch with. I just have to call one or the other, and then they're both there when the gig starts. So that's a nice thing. And we've been working on some different things. I like to play lyrical music, and lyrical music is always something that really begs you to sing with. And since I can sing, even though my father told me when I was a kid I couldn't, it's because he couldn't sing, not because I couldn't sing. A lot of people project their inabilities on other people, especially fathers on sons, you know. Really funny. He couldn't play sports either, but I could. So I remember one time I said, let's play some baseball. And he said, you know, son, you only have one father in your life, but you'll have many friends you can play baseball with, all he really meant was that he wasn't very good at playing baseball. And it'd be better if I played with somebody who could throw the ball better than him, because he never learned when he was a kid. He had to do like hard things. He joined the Army, the Air Force in the Second World War when he was 16, lied about his age. Because everybody was very hungry back then. Like, I'm talking about 1939. 1939, when Canada started in the Second World War with the British. The Americans came to the Second World War later in 1942, when it was a good business deal. Because, first of all, there were a lot of Germans and a lot of Nazis in the United States, too, that didn't want the Americans to fight a war against the Germans. But to make a long story short, they got into the war because Japan attacked them, and not because the Germans did. But then later it became pretty obvious what was going on. So he had a hard life, you know, studying when 16, having to go into the Air Force and whatever. And I'm not going to talk about my father more than that, but it's important for one always to remember that you're a product of your environment. And you're a product of your parents. And you're a product of the people that you spend time with and revere and respect. So I think it's going to be we've been having a pretty good time. We've done a couple of rehearsals and had some fine time. And now we're working on a little bit of our portion of one of these gigs. I'm not really sure whether it's going to be the 1st, the 8th, or the 15th of August. We have to talk about that. And we were invited by Gudrun Berndt to have some food. And we're going to talk about when you guys can play. But you are really my main article here. Jazz was always my greatest love. The problem was when I was a kid, I got really good at playing the trumpet when I was just a little boy, and my dad didn't understand jazz, and he didn't want me to do that either, just like he didn't want me to sing. Because he said jazz musicians don't make a good living. And just between you and I, unless you're really high up in the jazz world, he's right. But I think there's much more to life than playing jazz, and there's much more to music than playing jazz. And if you can play pop music, and if you can play lyrical, popular music, jazz, and even popular classical music, then you can survive pretty well in this world. So to make a long story short, we've been looking at a very famous piece by Johnny, what's his name?
John Lewis.
Yeah, who wrote this piece? What does it say here?
It's hard to read.
Yeah.
But I guess.
It's not Johnny Mercer, is it? Who is it?
I don't know.
Anyway, you can look in your, yeah, it does matter. It does matter. We're playing a piece called The Shadow of Your Smile. And it's from the film The Sandpiper, with Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor and Charles Bronson. It's about a priest who falls in love with a woman that more or less is sort of a beachcomber. She lives with an artist, a sculptor named, in this film, actually it's Charles Bronson. And he's a priest, a Catholic priest, and he falls in love with her and commits adultery, which is a sin. And that's what it's about. Back when there was such a thing called morals in the world. And it's a wonderful, beautiful piece. And why don't you just play through the changes so that the listeners can hear what a beautiful the chord changes. Just learn, just yeah, from just. Okay, now I think there's a very strong influence of Brazilian music in that also. I can really hear a Brazilian influence there from Jobim and whatever, you know?
Sounds a little bit like Manhã de Carnaval.
Yeah, yeah.
Black Orpheus.
Why don't you play a little Black Orpheus so that people know what the tune is about?
Let's see. I don't know.
Just play one in whatever key you... Good. No, I put you on the spot with that, but.
Yeah.
See, the first interval will help you a lot. Yeah. That's it. So what is the first note you're playing? What's the first?
The first one is an E. And then I go to C. Like a small sixth.
That's it. Oh, E. And then let your ears lead you. Go ahead. Okay, so now I just help them understand the key to all jazz improvisation is to hear the notes before you play them. Right? Yeah. And the first interval will help you, first of all, orientate even to the key of the piece. So what note are you playing? I've got an E-flat trumpet in my hand. What's your first note?
C sharp.
Okay, now that's why we have a thing called the real book.
Yeah.
So, I've got two versions here. I've also got 557 Jazz Standard, Swing to Bop. You know it?
I don't have it, but I know.
This is in C and this is in B flat. You just called the tune, actually what it's really supposed to be called is Black Orpheus, right?
Yeah.
So let's find Black Orpheus and take a good look at what that's about. Now the reason I'm doing this with you guys right now in front of the camera is because this is really reality. Black, Blue Monk, boo-ba-doo-ba, boo-ba-doo-da. Don't play it. Blue Bossa, don't play it. Black,
there it is.
no, it's Black Nile. That's Black Coffee, Black Nile. Black Orpheus. Okay, so here it is, and what are we in there? This is the real book, and it's in C. So that's the real key, or
We played it in the wrong key.
of course.
Yeah.
No, my problem is that I was trying to improvise it from the E-flat trumpet, which is something I never do. I never improvise from the... it doesn't mean that it can't be done. It doesn't mean that better players can't do it. Just that I can't. So I have a B-flat horn. Now, how is that key for you on the E-flat? It's no problem for you. You're just playing A minor, right? Sounding A minor.
Yeah.
So what key would it be for you? E minor?
For me, it would be F sharp minor.
F sharp minor.
A small.
So how many sharps do you have? 4.
Yeah.
Melody. Cool. Play the melody. I'll play the melody, you improvise over me. So what did I do? I went into I went into the coda, and because it wasn't right, because you had gone back, it sounded like I was improvising over it. But really, what I was doing was just playing, turning it into whatever it has to be. That's the interesting thing about this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we're getting into a little bit of a jam session here. That's the first of about 15 minutes here. And we'll be back in 2 minutes for the next YouTube. We might put 2 together here because it's otherwise a little bit too little at one time. But thanks for looking in. This is Man with the Horns. This is a Boucher saxophone from 1920, playing with a Kahn 1920. Very nice sound. Thank you. Bye for now.